Carl here from Wani, and with me today is a gentleman who is not only a stunningly good musician, but also just happens to be an integral part to the sound of one of my own personal favourite bands. I am here with none other than James of the mighty Tesseract. James, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out today, man.
No, thank you for talking to me.
My sincere pleasure. So we're here in Dublin, and we were just talking there a second ago ahead of your show tonight in the Tivoli Theatre, and you guys look to be the last big rock show in this venue, so thank you guys for coming here and making that happen, first of all, on behalf of me and the rest of us.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So I want to talk with you a bit about the band's latest record, Sonder. Mm-hmm. It's hands down one of my favourite records of 2018. It's just stunningly good all around. Sorry, I just had to add that.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you guys, first of all. It was described by Daniel as exploring a deep and devouring sense of significance. Like the record itself, that's a perception that can conjure up quite a few different feelings. And I'm kind of wondering, is that a feeling that's shared by the whole band, or do you have a different relationship to it, or what's your take?
I suppose in principle it's something that we all agree with and we all get behind. I suppose in terms of relationship to the record, I guess we all have varying levels of whether the concept's important or just the music's important. Like Acle, for example, is very much just like purely the music and the concept, like something that's important that adds to the product, but it's something that's maybe he's not so I don't know, it's less important to him than the actual music itself, whereas Dan, for example, and Amos, to them, I guess the concept is from almost everything and kind of tells the whole story of the record. Right. I guess, yeah, I know. I probably sit somewhere in between the two.
It's cool.
But yeah, I think it's definitely something we'd all get behind. I think we live in a time now when I think it's very important to remember we're not the only people on this planet, and there's there's so much going on in the world that we should be aware of and not be self-centered, I think, ultimately.
Lovely, man. And one of the things I love about this record and you guys as a band is that while there can be a lot of technical proficiency going on, you guys never sacrifice, that sense of passion when you're playing. That's always conveyed. And I'm kind of wondering, is that something, because I've listened to you talk about, music theory in the band and how little or how much of it there can be. And I'm kind of wondering this time around, because for me there was a huge sense of ambience on this record, and I was kind of wondering how that worked when you were writing the record in terms of theory, passion, and how the two played together.
I suppose in terms of like the ambience, we worked even closer with Aidan O'Brien, who's a front of house engineer and also co-songwriter on some of the tracks, and he put a lot into this album in terms of like the atmospherics and the sounds, and one thing in particular that he did, which was really interesting on this record, was he did a call out for field recordings. We got people to make loads of recordings and send them in, and if there are any usable samples, we'll then include them in the album.
That's really cool.
I think we had about 80 submissions, and about half of them all made it on the record in some way or other.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and it also helped with the concept as well of us, ultimately inviting everyone to be involved and appreciating our fans, and also being aware that they could probably contribute something to the record which we'd never have thought of, which they certainly did.
Yeah.
So if you listen to it back and listen to anything, you hear these odd, strange sounds. Most of them would have derived from sound bites sent in from fans.
That's amazing. I really love that idea.
That's cool.
Which kind of fascinates me, because forgive me if I'm mistaken, but isn't Sonder coming in around 36 minutes your shortest record, and you've had over 80 and used 40 submissions from fans, including yourselves, and it's for me that it's a real all killer, no filler kind of record. And I was wondering, were you guys going for a more direct approach this time, kind of like we're just gonna give it to you as it is, or was it a conscious decision to make it a little bit shorter this time around?
It wasn't a conscious decision, but I guess those 7 tracks work together really, really well, and we've got loads of other seeds. We've got albums worth of demos which we always go back to and consider, and quite a few of them were created in the Sonder songwriting process, but just nothing else was really fitting, and those tracks just worked as a body of work, and there was maybe another track we were going to try and squeeze in, but it just we didn't really have it just felt right as it was.
Yeah, cool, man. Because I wanted to talk to you specifically because, like as I said, it's one of my favourite records of the year. But one of my favourite parts of my favourite record of the year is your guitar work on it. I think it's stunningly good. It was like King and Broken Image and Mirror. I just it absolutely blew me away. And I was wondering, what approach did you take as a guitar player to this record, from pre-production to writing it to everything?
I think Acle probably has to take most of the credit, because he's I don't know, he's very much very much an experimentalist, and like really like has explored different tones, different approaches and different sounds, like for example, like the outro riff in King. There are a few moments where he's come up with this new patch where it makes the basic riff sound really thick and almost like a synth kind of sound, and
I don't know. I think you're a lot more heavily involved than you're giving yourself credit for, especially on King, because that was the first track I came to from the record, and I listened to you guys. Well, I knew it was you. I was like, that's him. He's in this, So I think that selling yourself short there, because some awesome work.
Well, I suppose, although Acle is kind of the main songwriter on this record, we did all bring it together, lots of different ideas, which I think probably helped to make it a little bit more diverse. And the King's an example, yeah. So I guess like sort of the main riff in the beginning there is probably not something like Acle would have maybe instinctively gone to write. So I guess that helped. And a bit like with Juno as well, Aidan wrote a part in that, which is something that Acle wouldn't have instinctively gone to. So I think everybody's input on this record helped it make it sound a bit more different.
I love it. For whatever way it came from its inception, I absolutely adore it. And one of the things I want to talk to you about, from just being a fan of your music, and you guys are still so innovative and so forward thinking, for me personally anyway, is this state of what's kind of referred to as Retromania, where it's cited as that because it's supposed to be like a culture has an addiction to its own past. And I've spoken with a lot of artists about this, and specifically to music, and they kind of feel that a lot of them are concerned, because it's kind of like the stone's been dropped in the pond, the ripples are just coming back, and everything's already been done now. Where a lot of them kind of feel, actually no, there are forward-thinking artists out there that's kind of buried in this oversaturation of accessibility to the music we have. And I'm kind of wondering for yourself, where would you stand on that? Would you agree that there is a huge addiction to its own past going on, or do you think there is a lot more happening?
I don't know. I don't feel there's an addiction to the past, but I do think that it's a lot easier to create some music that people are going to like, because it's tried and tested.
I think that's a fair point.
And I think there is a lot of experimental music, challenging music out there, but I guess the trouble is a lot of it is quite challenging to listen to, because it's new sounding, and and then the vast majority of people don't necessarily want to listen to something old, but they want to listen to something that's palatable and they can get into. And I think in terms of like writing something that's simple and catchy and that's going to appeal quite quickly, I think we are running out of ideas, because virtually everything has been done like that. But every now and again, something that is really interesting and diverse could inspire something simpler and catchy to come out of that. I don't know. So I think I'm sure we will start to hear. I guess production's a real big thing, which has changed in the last decade or so. Like lots of more poppy stuff. It's sounding bigger and it's sounding fuller, and there's a lot more experimentation with sound. So yeah, I don't know. I think there will always be musical evolution, and new things will come out, because ultimately, I think that's what will do best. There's something that's genuinely fresh, but can also appeal to lots of people.
Right.
I guess it's just not very hugely frequent, because for the vast majority of business-minded songwriters, it's a lot easier to just churn out.
I love that answer. That was thank you. That was priceless.
Oh, cool.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, man, before I let you go back and do your thing tonight, is in terms of, you kind of touched on how production has changed. Of course, how we create, distribute, and consume music has changed drastically. It's almost unrecognizable in certain instances, and a lot of people kind of feel like once the greats bow out and the kind of torchbearers take the place, and then a lot of artists, some do feel that it's just this generation set of challenges, but others feel that, oh my god, how are these guys going to survive? What does the future for rock and metal look like? And ultimately the question I'm asking you is, are you confident or concerned for the future of it all?
I don't know, it's a difficult one. I don't think that there's any. I don't think it helps to be concerned. I think the best thing you can do is try and do something about it. And I don't know. I'm not saying that what we do is like going to change the world or be huge, but what we try to do is produce stuff that's original and different, and we're pushing some boundaries, but like also at the same time try and write songs that can appeal. And I think there are lots of other bands doing that who are trying to be, I guess, experiment within sort of set parameters that are palatable. I don't know. I think as long as bands keep trying to do things that are new, it won't kill it. I think if there is like, you know, waves of bands just doing the same odd stuff, I think that's where there's a problem, because people will ultimately get bored of it.
Right.
So I think as long as the next generation of bands remains creative and do interesting things, then I think the future of rock and metal is healthy.
I love it. Listen, thank you so much. The record is great. Have a great time tonight, and very best of luck with everything else the rest of the year and beyond, my friend.
Cool.
Seriously, thank you
very
so much, James.
No worries. Cheers. Thanks.